Okay, now can we welcome Emily King from the AWI, who's going to give us the wool experience. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks everyone, and thanks Jen, you didn't put any pressure on at all, so that's good. Hopefully I can explain a bit more about where AWI's 2% levy is going with a review of one of our projects called Lifetime Wool. So AWI is a rural research and development corporation, and we are an IOC, an industry-owned company. We have 24,000 shareholders. We have over 50,000 levy payers, but not everyone is registered to be a shareholder. So of those 24,000, all have voting rights in AWI. We do marketing, so we do research, development, extension and marketing along the global supply chain for wool. So obviously we work with growers in Australia, but then we work all the way through to consumers, consumers and retail training on ground, because the last chance we have to influence someone to buy a wool garment is the retailer standing in the store. So we do a lot of training with people on ground to try and make sure that they know all the great benefits of wearing wool so they can sell that product for us. We're funded on a triennial cycle and we go through wool poll every 3 years. So every 3 years, Australian wool growers can vote to completely disband AWI and are given 4 other levy value options that they can pay to AWI. So at the moment we're 2%. The last wool poll was held in November 2015 and we then were funded from 1st of July 2016 through till 30th of June 2019. So we spend 25% of our levy amount on on-farm RD&E, 15% on off-farm RD&E, so post-farm gate, and then 60% on marketing. So AWI's on-farm R&D from the 2016 to 19 Strategic Plan, which has just been released. We have healthy and productive sheep. Under that, there's sheep health and welfare, which includes all sorts of things like flies, lice and worms, vertebrate pests, vertebrate pests are another one, analgesia, pain relief, mulesing alternatives, all of those sort of things. Then we have vertebrate pests. Obviously wild dogs are a really, really key issue to Australian wool innovation, Australian wool growers. Reproduction is our greatest R&D priority at the moment. We've got a really strong focus on arresting the slide of merino ewes out of the Australian system, and genetics as well. We have a farm automation and software development strategy, feed-based and fibre advocacy, so looking at eco-credentials of growing wool, but then also of the fibre. The processing chain for wool is quite an intensive chain, so we're looking at just water use efficiency, the dyes that are used, all of that sort of thing along the chain, and reclassifying wool. Wool was actually classified as one of the most unsustainable fibres in the world because of a few what we think are unfair assumptions about water use and all that sort of thing. So we're just working on changing all of those assumptions that have gone into that modelling because we actually obviously think that wool's quite sustainable. Wool harvesting quality preparation, so training shearers and wool handlers, education and extension. So of AWI's RD&E spend, 45% is on the E. So we're quite focused on the extension side of what we're doing. So I thought that in doing that, we'd look at a case study for Lifetime Wool. And you can see there that Lifetime Wool ran between 2001 and 2008. And so you're probably thinking, Jesus Christ, hasn't the wool industry done anything since 08? We have. But what I thought that I would share with you today is a legacy project so that we can have a look at what this project did under its project and then what it's continued on to add value to and leverage across a number of projects in an ongoing fashion. So the motto of Lifetime Wool was more lambs, better wool, healthy ewes. So it focuses on the ewe being the engine room of the business and the fact that the ewe to be in better condition score and to have feed matched to her requirements, nutritional requirements through all stages of reproduction, will have a better lamb and a better outcome for the ewe as well. There's a series of regional guidelines and recommendations in managing your ewes that came out of Lifetime Ewe. It was about a $10 million investment, of which AWI was the principal partner, tipping in about $6.7 million over that time. And then you'll see there basically all of the state departments that have sheep in them contributed, as well as CSIRO. So it was a big, overarching, multi-site project that ran for a lot of years and was a bit of a flagship project across the industry. So what has it led to? So a few of the principal outcomes of Lifetime Wool have been lifetime ewe management. There's a lifetime ewe management app. It is for Apple systems, iOS systems and Android. A second version of that app is about to be released, and so that app's been enhanced so that it now has cloud capability, so that if you've got multiple people working on your place, you can have them all use the same app, and so that your whole flock is encapsulated in the one app, so you can all share the data. And there's a number of other enhancements based on feedback from lifetime ewe management participants. Bred Well, Fed Well, the Feed on Offer library, scoring for profit poster was actually a poster designed by Sheep Connect Tasmania, which is AWI's extension network in Tasmania, and James Tyson, who manages that, is actually here as a participant. A Merinos to Market workshop, so that workshop's currently being piloted around Australia, and it is AWI's complement to Bred Well, Fed Well, which we put together in conjunction with Meat and Livestock Australia a number of years ago. There's a Lambs Alive guide and lamb survival workshops, all the management strategies that sit behind those come from Lifetime Wool. A lambing density and lambing survival project currently going with MLA and about 10 other partners at the moment, as well as a lot of on-farm tools. So, for example, how to condition score, feed budging and nutrition for different areas of around Australia, etc. So lifetime ewe management is a bit of a flagship project for AWI, I guess, and delivered in conjunction with RIST, who are the national coordinator and deliverer. RIST are based in Hamilton in Western Victoria. So it was started by RIST using all of the principles and frameworks out of Lifetime Wool into a workshop of 4 to 6 sessions. So it's a small group model that works on repetition and building that knowledge into the production system through the full reproductive phase of a ewe. So I guess it did get some industry involvement by way of government subsidies, but I guess from when it started to 4 years later, only 220 growers had gone through the course. So AWI has been investing in the program since 2012. To the end of the financial year now, 2,700 growers have been through. 20% of the Australian ewe flock is under management from participants of lifetime ewe management courses. And we've got targets to improve that to up to 35% by 2019 and 50% of the Australian ewe flock managed under lifetime ewe management principles by 2022. The return on investment for that is $10 return for every $1 invested in that, up to 15. And the reason there's a range on that is because it depends on what level the producer increases their stocking rate as having been a participant of lifetime ewe management. So this is an incredibly crowded picture of where lifetime ewe management courses have been held. For anyone that knows the rough distribution of sheep across Australia, you'll notice that that roughly fits around that. There's some noticeable gaps in the pastoral zone, and we're working on some of that now. So using optimal condition score, conceive more lambs and have heavier lambs, which are more likely to survive because they're in optimal birth weight range. There's more milk produced during lactation, so you've got stronger lambs that can get up and get going a lot quicker. Also, the ewes are less likely to want to leave the birth site and abandon the lamb because they have enough feed. They do produce stronger wool, and that can sometimes mean broader wool, which at the moment probably isn't a massive issue, but it could be depending on where pricing sits at the time. But they generally produce lambs with finer wool and will produce more wool because of the nutritional influence on follicle set down in the skin of the sheep, in the lamb, in utero. Participants report an increased stocking rate, increased lamb marking and weaning percentage, and a reduced ewe mortality. So there's some really, really great animal welfare outcomes as well as productivity and profitability gains to be found from this project. AWI undertook a major review of lifetime ewe management, just around the governance and levels of deliverer capability, all of that sort of thing. You know, I suppose we've now got an increased focus on the quality of delivery and on deliverer training. An increased focus on real-time impact and evaluation so that we can more quickly make decisions about where our money's invested and how, and the impacts that that's having. And there's an increased focus on larger growers so we can affect more of the flock more quickly and have that trickle-down effect by farmers learning from farmers, and on working with wool brokers and consultants, etc., as a trusted source of information to a wool grower. Further research has been planned around ewe nutrition and management, piggybacking to fill in small gaps that we do have, and around lamb survival. And as I said before, we're looking at more regional tailoring, more specifically to wheat sheep and the pastoral zone. The wheat sheep zone will be the higher priority of the two, and then pastoral zone following that. So that's about all from me. I just want to thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you today, and I hope you have a great GrowAg. Thanks.
Thanks, Emily. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're head of extension and adoption, and 45% of the AWI's money is spent through you.
No, it's not. In short, there's a large component.
The drinks are on, huh?
There's a large component of extension and adoption training in our shearable handler portfolio, and that's managed by someone separate. So I do all the general extension and education, but then there's also some really specific area extension as well. Yeah.
And your experience in wool, wool noticeably has a slow uptake rate. The rate of change of wool farmers is reasonably and traditionally very slow. Has that been a real challenge for extension in AWI to get people to take up new technologies and new research?
I guess wool growers sometimes do get a bad rap for being a bit slow and having tweed coats with elbow patches. Yeah, I guess it can be, but I think realistically, from what we've been discussing today, it seems to be an issue over every industry. I don't think you could single wool out unfairly, Mike.
But it was fun doing it.
But yeah, I guess, I mean, and I think when I speak to any of my counterparts in any of the other RDCs or consultants, private consultants working in this space, or people who are employed by government, adoption is an enormous challenge to all of us. And and I guess, I think that really has been the success of this model, and that's particularly why I wanted to share it. Small group models are incredibly expensive but incredibly effective, and that repetition and that sort of, at the start the consultant's effectively showing and doing and leading, but by the end the consultant's basically just there as a calibration tool, and the farmer is leading the show themselves. So that has been an incredibly successful model for us, and I guess that level of uptake and ROI really shows that. Yeah.
Did you see the Four Corners last week and the discussion about the Aboriginal community in Walgett, and it was very much a small group's approach to resolving an issue. They've been pouring lots and lots of money into something that just wasn't working, and then they took on a small group's approach, and for not any money at all, nearly, that it was really making a difference. It does work, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
But it's about care, and it's a lot of effort. It's not something you can just pour money in and it fixes itself. You have to actually do the work, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, any questions for Emily? Any further discussion? Put your hands up. Don't rush. Plenty of time.
I've got one, Mike.
Oh, good
I might kick things off. Em, you touched a little bit on eco-credentials of wool. And, this might be one guy might like to chip in too. Sorry, Mike, I'm delving all over the place. But I think both the wool and cotton industries have made a lot of headway in terms of correcting some of the myths about our industries. Yeah. Are you starting to see return on investment from efforts to, improve perceptions of our eco-credentials, and how far along that journey have we gone?
Yeah, so we're only just starting to see benefits now. And some of the agencies that we're working with, they're a big beast, and they it's a big ship to move. And they've gone out and sold those recommendations worldwide. And so for them to then turn around and fall on their sword because we've presented some more realistic data, it's taking a while to get them to see the light on that. In some spaces, but we are starting to see a lot of our fibre advocacy and eco-credentials work is really gaining traction now. We just had a few big reports released that shows that superfine merino wool is actually the best solution fibre you can wear for atopic dermatitis. For a long time, skin specialists have told people you absolutely can't wear wool because it's prickly and, it's actually an irritant to the skin. And so now we've just had the World Dermatological Society come out and say actually superfine wool is actually the best thing you can wear because of the inherent properties of wool. So, we are starting to get some good return on investment there now, but it has been a long, slow road. Yeah. But by the same token, it has been a relatively low investment from AWI's point of view.
Guy, do you want to contribute?
So the cotton industry has a thing called MyBM, which is a farm environmental management system, and growers can be accredited to standards and independently audited, and the industry is participating in a global initiative called the Better Cotton Initiative, for example. So if you go to H&M or IKEA or Nike, some of these big brands, you might notice this Better Cotton Initiative, and they're trying to purchase what they call better cotton, sustainably produced cotton, and trace it right back through the value chain. As someone was outlining this morning, this is all possible right back to the producer, and that's all possible now and underway.
And have either of you got any numbers in terms of, where this rates from consumers in terms of importance when they're making those purchasing decisions?
I do, but I can't quote them. Yeah, the cotton industry, as I just mentioned, the cotton industry is working with these large manufacturers and who are obviously consumers, and so obviously data is being collected in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Alan Williams could answer that, but our experience is that there is demand for a differentiated and certified type of product. Whether that turns into a premium is not clear, but it does. There is a preference. So if it's buy that cotton or this cotton, they'll buy the one that meets their needs. So sometimes it could become a price of entry. It's difficult to quantify. And my own experience, I was the first one to do that in the world, and my own experience was they chose the product, but not at a premium.
Mm. And from our point of view, no, I don't have the figures, but I can say that whilst there is a growing push for it, it's still very much largely overridden by price, mainly, at the point of retail, and fashion, style and colour.
Mm. Yeah. Sure.
Emily, how much is the industry now using data on sheep breeding values to take advantage of the good prices for sheep meat, so that producers can, besides producing good wool, they can also produce larger yielding carcass animals that taste better?
Yeah, sure. So I think there's now over 1,000 merino studs in the Merino Select database. So there's been a steady 5% increase year on year in the last couple of years. I think, you have a look at a merino today, generally, especially the pastoral and South Australian type merinos. We're getting to a point where the sheep are getting incredibly large. So there has been a definite priority placed upon having a more dual purpose type animal and having meat traits, really specifically looking at meat traits and wool traits, and then also improving reproduction at the same time. More lambs on the ground, finish quicker to fit whatever market that producer's aiming for. And I think, realistically, if you looked at the kill data across Australia, there's not many really there's not that many lambs as a proportion going through that don't have some proportion of merino in them still being slaughtered in Australia. So, you know, whether a first or a second cross or straight merino, wether lambs or whatever going through. So, yeah, really important part of the modern merino enterprise or wool growing enterprise.
Okay, thank you. And right in the back corner, hiding behind a pillar.
Yeah, sorry I'm hiding back here. It's Brett Fallon from Albany, Western Australia. I'm from Gold Leaf Alpacas and also ANZ.
Yep.
So I just have a question and a bit of an observation as well. You've mentioned AWI spend 6% of their budget on marketing. How much of that budget would be used in a collaborative sense with other natural fibres? My observation of AWI marketing that I see out in the marketplace is that it's competing more with other natural fibres rather than banding together, you know, and I think there could be some collaborative benefits, so hence my question.
Yeah, so I guess we have done work with cotton previously, but no, we don't generally collaborate on our marketing. I suppose a few figures to throw around. So AWI roughly has about $50 million-ish to spend on marketing worldwide for Australian wool. Target Australia's annual marketing budget is $100 million. So that's just their Australian spend. So if you look at what we're trying to do for one commodity, AWI's levy comes from wool growers and no one else. So we spend our money to benefit returns back to Australian wool growers. And I guess as well, wool comes from a sheep. So we only do normally spend our money on wool. Wool is it depends on global production of cotton and you know, petrochemical based fibres.
Sorry to interrupt, just to take that a bit further, because I understand that AWI need to spend money promoting wool. That's obvious. That's their money. But maybe your cotton counterpart up front there might be able to help, because if you're saying Target's got 100 million, you've got 50 million. You know, what have we got as a natural fibre that we could do collaboratively and get across not only Australians but worldwide? That's more the point.
Yeah, so we collaborate to stretch our dollar further, because obviously we don't have enough money to adequately do the job that we need to do. So we collaborate with a heap of brand partners, and that's where we focus our collaboration efforts. So because obviously they're already doing advertising, what we try and do is tap into some of their advertising budget and run like campaigns with them at point of sale and in their general advertising. And, focus a lot on getting copy in magazines and all that sort of thing to stretch our dollar further, because we just couldn't do the job that we need to do with the budget that we've got. And I guess, just thinking how to best phrase this, wool is between 1% to 2% of the world's textile market in any 1 year. So it is definitely a high and niche product. And I guess we've got to make the world want wool. It doesn't probably need wool. So, so that's our focus, is making the world want wool and to want to continue buying wool and seeing wool as a niche, high-end fibre. So, yeah, that's just how we approach it internally, collaborating with a number of brands and
can I just touch on what you're saying there? You know, talking about, obviously there is a limited pool based on grower funds and the contribution there. You know, obviously one of the things that AWI has had a lot of success with has been, the unpaid marketing that you're able to achieve through things like the Woolmark Prize. Have you got any, stats on, in terms of how much free marketing, we get as an industry by doing some of those smart things, and how can we get more of that? What works? Yeah.
So International Woolmark Prize, the budget from AWI for that in this financial year is about $5 million worldwide. And I think last year our media spend, our media reach as a result of all of the in-kind stories and all that sort of thing was about 125 million. So I guess the way we do that is look for really strategic partnerships. So we partner with Vogue worldwide to deliver International Woolmark Prize. We look at who's on the judging panel so that the judging panel garners attracts people just by their name. So, for example, Victoria Beckham, etc. Donatella Versace, etc. have all sat on judging panels. And I guess the way we try and garner more of that is just try and look for more of those strategic partnerships and people who have access to media themselves and have something to gain out of it as well. So it's as much in their interest as it is ours to push that collaboration with Woolmark and with the Woolmark company, which is our marketing arm, I should have said.
That's pretty interesting, isn't it? Okay, thank you, Emily. That was really good.
Thank you.
Everybody, thank you.